Welcome to Beyond the Riverwalk, the local weekly podcast that brings San Antonio's most remarkable people, places, and events directly to you. All links discussed will be in the show notes, so sit back, relax, and join Kevin and Melissa Barron as they ask the questions that you would. Now, let's get the conversation started.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to Beyond the Riverwalk. This is Kevin, and joining me again is my wife,
Melissa. He took my line.
Yeah, I got to admit that she's married to me.
25 years and going strong.
Yeah. So let's move on. Today, we are back, and we have a really, I think, an interesting and a fun group of folks to talk to. They run a business called BarbacoApparel here in San Antonio, and they do some really unique stuff that's really got the flavor of San Antonio in it all over there. And they're fun on social media. It's great information. So I'm going to just kind of turn it over to these guys and let them introduce themselves. But again, it's BarbacoApparel, and joining us today are...
Yeah, I'm Matt. I handle kind of the business end of BarbacoApparel.
Hi, Matt.
I'm Richard Diaz, and I do social media.
And I'm Nydia, and I do all of the graphic design work.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you guys are the total package then.
Yes.
You've got it all. You've got it all organized. So what's the history? Where did this come from? Because there's a lot of people creating stuff and making T-shirts and stuff nowadays everywhere, but you guys have something special. So how did that get started?
Yeah, so we started about in March of 2014. Nydia, Richard, and I all worked together at that time. And so we were kind of just looking for a creative outlet. We kind of had like a boring office job, and so we were just looking for a way to get some excitement outside of work. And so we kind of had noticed that there were companies that were promoting the city, but we didn't see a lot of companies, a lot of products that were celebrating kind of like the culture of the city. And so we wanted to express our love for like San Antonio through our experience of the city and the culture. And so we kind of started playing off of that, and then we came up with the idea of doing tourist T-shirts for locals, like T-shirts that were so specific to San Antonio that you had to live here to understand what they were. And so we kind of just like started off with that, and then branched out into doing, I don't know about mainstream, but just more culturally, relevant T-shirts. So that was the initial idea.
Well, and y'all have gone beyond that too, to the point that you've got, jewelry now and lots of other things. So what is this about? Is it a small business and you guys are all partners in that, or is it more of a hobby at this point? Or how would you describe what you guys are doing more formally?
So it's a little bit of a hybrid kind of. We're trying to move it in the direction of becoming a full-fledged small business. So currently, so there's four of us. My sister Catherine also, she's not here today, but she handles the wholesale end of it. So Nydia actually just quit her job a couple months ago to focus full time on the business. Richard and I.
Congratulations, girl.
Oh, thank you. It's been a joy.
And so we're trying to start moving in that direction of making it a full time thing.
Well, and you guys call yourselves the unofficial T-shirt company of San Antonio. I think that's perfect, and that yes, really describes it in a lot of ways. So it says you guys, and I'm looking at your About Us page there because it's one of the things that, believe it or not, I haven't looked at. I've just been watching what you post and seeing what you've actually been selling. But it says you set out to embrace what it means to be Tejano. So for people that don't know, or for people that moved here like us a few years back,
who are Cajuns, from Louisiana,
all over. What is Tejano? What does that mean? What's the flavor of that?
If I had to describe Tejano, it can be like a lot of things for different people, but like for me, it's part of like your like music that you listen to. It's sort of like growing up with Tejano music, of course, celebrating. It's like you're Texan and Mexican. It's like a hybrid, and so it's just like celebrating like the certain foods, music that's specific to the region.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, that's like me personally. I don't know.
Yeah, it encompasses. I mean, from my impression, is it encompasses pretty much every area of life. It's just a kind of a take on it, and like
it's a way of life.
It's like Melissa was saying. When you grow up in Louisiana, you know there's all these specific Cajun references and types of food, and you would never put that on that kind of food, but you would put this on this other thing.
Right.
There's just stuff that culturally, and it comes across and it binds people together. So I think the other piece that you noted in your About Us, I think is really cool, because Melissa's done the same thing with companies that are doing something like it out of New Orleans, and that's going after things that kind of remind you of home.
Yes.
So on your About Us, you're talking about basically, I love the term, the Texpat. So for people that no longer live
in Texas
or in San Antonio, but long for being at home, you're bringing a bit of home to them through what
at least
you're doing.
San Antonio.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So
yes, exactly.
Yeah. So how do you figure out what you're going to do? I mean, it's obviously there are some things that may be obvious, but when you're coming up with a design or you're coming up with things, do you look at what's popular, current event wise, or you're looking at things that are just threads from childhood, or what?
So I think it's a mixture of both. So a lot of our inspiration definitely comes from like our childhood experiences. Growing up in the city. And then we also like to incorporate like a little bit of pop culture as well when we can. So also things that we grew up with, whether that was just maybe like TV shows or certain movies or certain characters that may not be like relevant to the city, but we like to sometimes play with that, like mixing that with our childhood.
Okay, whose idea was Taco Knot?
Talking about whose was that?
It was okay. So I think that one was my idea, and the original idea, because like Texas, we have NASA here, and so all four of us are really into the space scene. We've got a lot of space related T-shirts, but the original concept for that was to do the astronaut, and the reflection was going to be Texas. But then I started overthinking it, because I was like, well, if it's a reflection, then Texas has to be flipped, and then that's just going to look weird. We did a couple of mock-ups of it, so I was like, okay, well, a taco looks the same both ways, so let's go with that.
There you go.
I love it. It's precious.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, so y'all are doing, so basically just kind of go through some of the categories, I guess. You're doing stuff that for T-shirts, you're doing pins, you're doing stickers, you're doing basically anything that, I mean, I'm guilty of what a lot of people do. It's like I got stickers on the back of my MacBook, because it's stuff that I like, and, it's like, oh, hey, look, these are some of the things I'm into. So how have people embraced what you've been doing? What have you seen since you started? Maybe whether it's a design or just an approach to doing business or whatever, what kind of kicked you guys off to starting to say, hey, wait, we got something here?
So I think, it's been a really crazy experience. And honestly, it was not something that I don't know how people say this, but it wasn't something that we really had expected. We were really worried when we did our first line of T-shirts, which I think was just 3 designs, that nobody was going to get it. But like pretty much from the first event, we just kind of tell that there was some kind of magic that was happening in our booth, because people would come in and they'd start, freaking out. We started hearing a lot of comments like, "Oh, that's San Antonio on a T-shirt," or "Oh, I feel like I just came home." And so there was this really kind of like, I don't know, like magic energy in the booth. And so we kind of just like took that, and it gave us a lot of confidence, and then kind of ran with it. And the pins and the stickers and all that other stuff, it really came out of people coming into the booth and wanting a T-shirt, but maybe not being able to afford something. And so we were trying to create products that were going to hit different price marks, so that everybody kind of take something home with them. So we kind of just kind of grew up with that.
Well, that makes sense. So, I mean, people can find your stuff at BarbacoApparel.com, but you talk about events. Yeah. So what's that all about? How do you guys, what do you participate in, and how does that work for y'all?
Yeah, so we kind of got our start, I think even before we had the website, we got our start doing events around town. So like anytime there's a big event happening, we will contact them and see if they're going to have vendors there, and then we go and set up. But some of the bigger ones that we do, like we do West Coast Fest in either October or November, which is the Day of the Dead Festival down at La Villita. We do a lot of holiday markets. There's some music markets, some music festivals that we'll do throughout the year. But yeah, like anytime a big event's happening, we typically try to see if we can set up a booth there to sell.
Okay, so it's basically just being out in the public and showing what you got, new designs, or just selling what you have. And the other piece of it is that y'all are in a lot of stores. I mean, you're in various different places around the state. You're in Austin and Bernie and Dallas, and you're in Houston, and I mean, definitely here. How does that happen? How does that happen? Because I know a lot of folks are doing maybe a small business. They're making something at home or whatever, and they're trying to figure out distribution. I mean, this may be a little more of the business geeky stuff, but how did you guys approach, building those relationships with retailers?
We really just started like one piece at a time. One of our main focuses was trying to get into stores that we personally shopped at and we really enjoyed. And I want to say the first big wholesale account that we landed was Whole Earth. And that really just came from, we really loved that store. We shopped there a lot. And so we just sent them an email, and we didn't hear back for a few months, but then when they emailed us, they really loved the stuff. And so we drove up to Austin and met with them. And that was really our first like big step into the wholesale part of the business. And we've kind of just expanded from there. And it's been really awesome. It's really nice to know that like, it's nice and it's surreal to know that like our stuff is being sold and we're not the ones physically selling it. It's crazy.
That's true. Especially since it's been a little bit of it's not been a long time. It's blown up pretty well and in a short amount of time. And one of the things, we've talked to several folks on the podcast in the last, I guess, few months that are starting new businesses, that are doing new things. It's from Southside, one way or another. We're talking to a lot of folks from Southside, but just in different places around San Antonio that are doing new things. And are you finding, I guess, the environment for what you're doing? I mean, are the people out there that are supporting you, whether it's other businesses or suppliers or whatever, what encouragement are you getting? Because whatever seems to be going on seems to be working.
Definitely encouragement from people. So when they come see us at events, they often like to banter with us. So they'll give us ideas. It kind of really gets us motivated to continue creating designs that we think that locals will love. Always trying to be creative, do something different. Something that we haven't seen before, and we also like to be like fun and colorful, and so I think that definitely like comes out in the designs, and then businesses too. Like we get a lot of businesses from town or even from like out of town, Austin, that they'll message us and say that they like what we're doing, that that it inspires them as well, and then we just collaborate. They like become friends. And then it's sort of like a community where we just like encourage each other. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of just goes from there.
Yeah. Have you had anybody come up to y'all since y'all do these really great designs to do designs for like their organization?
Oh yeah, something commemorative maybe for an event that they're doing or something.
And I'm asking this because we were part of Fiesta this past year. Our daughter was in Fiesta Especial, and we did what was it called?
A very amateurish T-shirt.
Yeah.
To raise money.
but it was really cute. It was the outline of Texas, and there was a heart where San Antonio was, and across Texas was written Especial. So a portion of the proceeds from that went toward our daughter's campaign, and she ended up being a Duchess. So
yeah, but I mean that was one of those things. It's like when people like us are like, oh, we can do a shirt, and then you realize, man, this isn't easy.
It's not.
I'm not as clever as I thought I was in terms of
designing. You are very clever, but we were only marketing, through the people we knew on Facebook. We don't have we weren't going to events to quote sell the shirt.
Yeah, no, but I think it's a good question though. I mean, do you guys do that for major events in town, or do you do commemorative stuff?
Yeah, we actually I would say that probably. That's another really good thing about doing the events is that I would say like 90% of our non traditional BarbacoApparel business comes from the event, because it is people coming up to us asking us to do different things. We had kind of shied away from it for a little while when Nydia was working full time, because she didn't have a lot of time to devote to it. But over the summer, we did some T-shirts and designed some tote bags and stickers for a conference that had happened. And then, we did some other stuff, and we're gonna actually start trying to move forward, doing more things for more design work for businesses.
Yeah,
but it really is like that is like probably, of all the stuff that we've done, I would say that is the most stressful and like the hardest, because they're so close. Yeah, and they're so close to they're so close to whatever idea that they have, and there's so much pressure to like not let them down and to want to provide, like what they are expecting from you and their vision. It's just, it's really stressful.
Well, it's a good point too. That's, I guess, something I hadn't thought about. I mean, if I think, of course we live here, but if I thought of like conventions coming to town and they wanted something that had that local feel, I mean, that would be kind of cool to say, hey, can you do something for the ophthalmologists, association, or whatever it is. Yeah. I mean, just make up something, because I'm flipping right now. I love doing this while we're talking. I'm flipping on the website.
Okay. It's called scrolling.
Because I'm old. I'm still thinking that we're reading books nowadays. But I mean, like
he'll be 50 on the 18th.
Yeah, it'll be tomorrow. We're recording this.
Happy birthday!
Yeah, thanks. But I'm flipping right now, and I'm looking at the chorizo dog sticker. I love that. I mean,
I do too. That's precious.
That's awesome. And Melissa wants the earrings.
I want the extra spicy earrings. Cause see, being from Louisiana, the green stuff's not as spicy as the red stuff.
At least in Louisiana.
Cajun, Cadiana. I quickly learned the hard way that the green stuff is hot.
Yeah.
So I want those earrings. I'll be placing an order soon.
I think, a lot, just to talk like about what the work that Nydia does. I mean, there's so much of this that's, anybody can, like we did, anybody can do a T-shirt, but you have to have the kind of the forethought and the vision to see how do I want this to look? What do I want it to represent? It can have a similar kind of image on it, but be serious, or can be fun, or can be whatever. So you guys, I think, have struck a really interesting, balance between that. And it makes you want to just grab, hey, look, okay, is there a package of like 24 of these things that I can get so I can have all of them, or whatever. So how often do you refresh things, or how often do you come up with new things and add? And, what's that process like, I guess? Is that an ongoing thing?
Yeah, it's definitely ongoing. So the designs are very much a collaborative effort. We'll go to like a local restaurant and try to brainstorm ideas as a team. And then when I get home, my job is to try to figure out how to like bring those ideas to life. And so, Richard touched on earlier that we're really influenced by pop culture. So like with the chorizo dog, I'm really into like art history, and so, or just art, like modern art in general. So I was like, it'd be really cool to like get this like Jeffrey Coons balloon dog, but make it more culturally significant, and just use chorizo or whatever. And then, like, to me, the most important aspect of what we do is just color based, and I'm always trying to like figure out what colors are going to complement the T-shirt colors that are already available, and that's going to complement the line, so that when we set up at an event, it's visually appealing to people who are passing by.
Right. Yeah, because you don't want, dull colors, and then, you're at a fiesta event and there's always oranges, purples, blues, reds, yellows.
Well, yeah. But that takes, it's more than just instinct, though. So, what's your background in this? How did you get into doing design work?
I'm self-taught. And so a lot of the it's kind of crazy, which is another reason why we kind of shied away, or I shied away at the beginning from taking on clients, because I really didn't want to disappoint them, but I knew like what my limitations were. But being with the business, and doing things year after year, the confidence level has definitely grown. And I know that there's definitely way more to learn. But yeah, what was the question again?
Oh, no, just how did you get into doing this? Yeah, because
what was your background? Yeah, because
well, the impression that the impression that I get is that somebody's gone to a lot of school and done a lot of work to come up with all this stuff.
Studied art history, went to an art design college, and
I mean, things are pretty striking. It's like I'm looking at the one that I'm assuming, unless I'm just way off from a reference standpoint, there's a design that looks like the Golden Girls, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this is really clever. This is really, and then the one next to it I'm looking at the pin page, is bean and cheese, and it just says BFFS,
I know.
I mean, it's really cool. And some of them, some of the images are cartoony. Some of them are more, more graphic and catch your attention.
I like the neon Texas too.
Yeah, there's some really neat approaches. So that's what I was saying is like, wow, you must be, gone through all this training and everything else. But you must just have a really good eye and a talent and patience, I guess.
And a fabulous imagination.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I studied communications in college, but one of the big things that I wanted to be when I was in high school was a graphic designer. So I spent a lot of time just tinkering around with, the Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator. Well, Adobe Illustrator came a little later on, but I guess my big start was in Photoshop and just kind of like playing around with things. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the success of the business is probably, because I didn't really have a social life in high school, so I spent a lot of time just like playing around with stuff.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
Introverts unite.
That's right.
I'm an extrovert, but there was nobody like me at school.
Oh, good.
Right on.
But yeah, I mean, there's some really neat stuff, and the things, if it takes a while to go through the website, because when you look at every category, the prints especially, there's a handful of those. I don't know, were there more out there maybe than are currently there in terms of the art prints, or maybe that's just what's in stock at the moment?
Oh yeah, we had a lot when we first started the business. The dimensions for them were a little hard for storage, so we kind of recalibrated a bit and shrunk them down a bit, and so this is what we're currently offering. But yeah, there were definitely more in the beginning.
Yeah, because we've got a little podcast studio, and it's like we need some stuff on the walls besides the sound deadening material, and that's all we have, and it's pretty stark.
which is flipped because he didn't want it to be all black in here, so now it's white. So I'm staring at a white wall behind Kevin.
Yeah, it's a very plain in here. But stuff like this, it's visually kind of striking and fun, and that's the kind of stuff I'm trying to look for without being too committal, because I never know what's next that I want to look at or whatever. But and then you guys are also doing it's Christmas cards, so there's just y'all have gotten into a lot of different areas. So when people are thinking, oh well, I'm not a T-shirt person, or I'm not a button person, or God forbid I'm a Windows person instead of a Mac person. I don't have any place to put my stickers because I'm a Mac person. It's like what do I do? Oh, you guys are y'all just into a lot of different things.
And what I like about what y'all do and the companies Kevin referenced that I buy stuff from in New Orleans.
Well, yeah, I don't think I mentioned it.
One's called Flirty Girl, and she's got like 4 or 5 stores now, and then the other one's called Dirty Coast. And they have really fun T-shirts, and they've expanded. And when I saw y'all, I said, oh, this is just like Flirty Girl and Dirty Coast. This is great. But I like to buy the shirts and wear them when I go out somewhere else. Like we're going to California to Disneyland. So I want to wear a BarbacoApparel shirt when I go to Disneyland and have people go, what is that? And I want to wear one of my Dirty Coast T-shirts. I have one that has the Acadiana flag in Mardi Gras colors. So it mixes my 2 favorite things. But I notice people's T-shirts when I go out and about. Like we'll be in Disney World. I go, oh, an LSU fan. Yeah, Yeah. Or a Saints fan or a Spurs fan, It's really fun I look at T-shirts. I think they're the best things in the world because they're comfortable.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Well, how do people find you guys? How do they stay up to date on what you're doing? And, how can they, easily catch up with you at maybe the next event y'all are doing?
Yeah, so you can always check us out at our website at BarbacoApparel.com. We have a events page there, and that will show you what events we have coming up. And we keep it updated pretty regularly. And then we also have a page that lists out the stores that we wholesale to, so that you can stop by there too. And then, I think that page is called Stockists. And then you can also just follow us on Instagram or Facebook at BarbacoApparel. And we keep our feed pretty live with like what we're doing next and what's coming up next.
Yeah, and y'all are pretty active too, if I remember correctly, and commenting on things and engaging with folks. It's not just that you're posting something and walking away. Y'all are active out there, and that keeps it fun.
Well, they're younger than we are.
Yeah, we're old. We got all this enthusiasm because we've been looking forward to talking to you guys, and it's I'll probably go and take a nap after this because I'm a lot older than
I'm older than he is, and usually this is my nap time. So,
yeah, but anyway, no. Thanks for bringing the fun. Bringing the fun out there, and I mean, I know I'm gonna get philosophical here because I'm getting old. But I mean, life's hard enough. You want some fun in your life. You want something that you're proud of. You're proud of your community, and you've got the creativity and the urge to do something like that. And actually, just more power to you. I'm proud that you guys are doing this.
I had one more question.
Oh, go ahead.
When y'all say y'all are in stores in Austin and Houston and Dallas, correct?
Yeah.
Do you do things specific to those cities?
No, actually, we don't. We just typically we let them just pick from our line what they think would work in those areas. Yeah.
Yeah, it works because you're building and you're doing your stuff, and I guess the heart of it is really San Antonio. It's really the region here.
Yeah.
I heart SATX.
There you go. So, anyway, well, hopefully we're going to catch you guys and get to meet you in person at one of these upcoming events. But thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. We're going to make sure that we put the links out there for the different shops and for the event page and for the social media stuff when we do the post for the episode, and we'll be sure to send it out to you. Anything else you want to share with everybody, or anything coming up you want to announce?
No, just come hang out with us at one of our events.
We've got the Crafty Chica event at Brick, which is on Wednesday, August 28th. And that'll be at Blue Star, and that'll be our next event. You can stay tuned to our social media for any updates.
Well, and this one will be out before that, so we'll make sure we put that out there as well.
Sweet.
Good deal.
It'll be out the weekend before, yes.
Well, thanks, y'all, for being on the show, and thank you, everybody, for listening to the show. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, you're very, very welcome.
And look for my order soon.
Yeah. As I sigh, there are some things that I want, so I'll be happy about that part of it. But anyway, but thanks everybody for listening to the podcast. If you've got questions or comments, you can send them to podcast@beyondriverwalk.com. You can also find us on all the socials, and we'd love to hear from you with suggestions for new episodes or just feedback on the ones you've heard so far. I believe this is probably when it's posted, will be episode number 33. So we've had a lot of fun meeting a lot of great folks, including the folks we talked to today. So
yes,
follow us, and we'll talk to you, and we'll see you soon around the Alamo City.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Beyond the Riverwalk. Send your comments, questions, and suggestions to podcast@beyondriverwalk.com. As always, subscriptions to our show are free and available wherever you find podcasts, as well as on our website. Until next week, join us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more conversations about our community.